Alright, welcome back. So now we're going to be looking at how to represent data as a frequency histogram or a frequency graph. Now, we've done bar graphs before, but the difference between a histogram and a bar graph is that a histogram is typically used only for numerical data, whereas bar graphs are mostly used for categorical data. So another interesting thing about a histogram is we want all of our columns to be joined together because the data will be continuous. So let's get started with our first one here. We have a number and its frequency. So the number 0 has occurred 5 times. So we're just going to mark that spot. And then we'll draw our general bar type graph. Alright, and we're going to leave a little gap here. So it's kind of convention to leave a half column gap at the start of your histogram. Alright, and the next one will be 1. So for 1, we have a frequency of 7. Now these are going to be some very large looking columns, purely because I have set this up slightly incorrectly. 2 is going to be 4, and 3 is going to be 3. So when we do this, we end up with this kind of continuous shape. Alright, so all of these are connected, and then this would be a certain color all the way through. Alright, now when you're doing this yourself, it's often easier to, instead of drawing these all out as I have done, just to get everything to be an even size. It will look a lot neater. But remember, they all have to be joined up, and also there has to be this gap left at the start in order for it to be a frequency histogram. Here's another one. So we don't always want to have individual values. A lot of the time we want to group them all together because it's not really important to have 1 hour of some activity. It might be more meaningful to have from 0 to 5 hours of an activity and group those all together. This means it's a lot less individual values to put into a graph or to look at, when a lot of the things we're interested in might be to do with classes instead of just individual values. So we have these grouped frequency tables, and we can use the same idea as before to create a histogram from them. So let's start with our first one. So again, we're going to leave a gap at the start. It doesn't really matter how big, it's just a gap that we probably want to be about half at the size of one of our columns, but again, it's going to depend on how you've set this out. Right, so let's get started with our first one. For 0 to 5 hours, we have 4. For 6 to 10, we have 9. For 11 to 15, we have a frequency of 12. And 16 to 20 is a frequency of 8. And then 21 to 25 is a frequency of 5. And 26 to 30 is a frequency of 2. Now the reason I've done this is I'm kind of trying to get this to be a little bit neater than we were last time. And I'll see if I can kind of draw some equal width columns. So So when you're doing this yourself, obviously it's better to use a ruler rather than just freehand each one of these graphs. But for our purposes, it's very difficult to organize that on this device. That's our frequency histogram for our grouped data values. So as you can see, we've got our gap at the start, we've got our bars here, and again you'll color them in some kind of solid color in order to communicate this, and you can see we have overall gotten a shape of our values which tells us where things are the most common and where they're the least common. Alright, that's it for this video. Hopefully it's helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.